Hey everybody, what's up today? Today we're going to, I'm going to install this Sinister Diesel EGR delete kit on my 6.4 Powerstroke. This came in probably about a week ago, but I was waiting for the rest of my stuff. So I'll show you what it all includes. Comes with the instruction manual. I've already opened this before. See if I can get one-handed while I'm filming. The high flow elbow. I like that color blue. I've had to buy mine ahead of schedule from what I wanted just because it was, the EPA's cracking down. They're no longer making race parts, so I wanted to get mine from Sinister just because I wanted the color. My truck's blue and it looked really good. Comes with a really cool looking decal. Here's another block off plate. It's got the Sinister logo on it. Very thick steel. Looks like it's actually heat treated. And gasket. I don't know exactly where that goes, but I don't know what it's called. Got two block off plugs for the other pipes in the back. All the rest of the hardware I've already checked, confirmed according to the instruction manual that everything is present. So we're good on that. I've got my bucket for my coolant to be dumped into, and we're ready to go. A good day to do it in the week. It's high of 60 today, and I got all my tools set out here in front of me. The kit and the bucket and my tools. Here's the truck. I got the vertical cooler here. There's a horizontal running just below down in here by the oil. So we're gonna take this off and probably, I know for sure that, and then down below that other cooler and some other hoses and stuff like that. So I'll show you guys how to do all that. The kit says, the instruction manual says, make sure the front wheels are straight and then disconnect both batteries. We're not going to do that just because I know better. Please excuse the wind. It's a very windy day out. Then we're going to drain the coolant from the plug. Side, right up there. It's a 17 millimeter. We're going to drain it right into this bucket. I got a few shop towels I can use to keep my hands clean. Taking this off and then this cooler next. First things first, we're going to pull this hose from the degas bottle. I got pliers somewhere, but right now I don't have them with me. Get up in my truck. And wiggle it gently so I don't break it. Alright, so I got some channel locks because couldn't seem to get that quite off, but that was with my fingers. It was pretty tight. I'm gonna move on to this little guy, this little blighter. Right there. Now the kit says to save this hose because we will be using it for future. In the future after we get everything taken care of. So I'm just gonna put this off to the side over by my intake and let it sit just like that, kind of out of the way. Remove this radiator coolant hose by pulling this clip out right there and separating the hose. I'm gonna put this clip off to the side in the box. Pulls out. It's just a little stiff and tight, but she pulls right out. That kind of allows you to get a little better down there, that vertical cooler right in there. You can see the horizontal as it kind of starts to go off towards that direction. So next, they want me to remove, after the battery's been taken out, all of the coolant lines going to the degas bottle. So I see there's one right down there. There should be one underneath it too. I don't know about anything from the side or not, so we'll get back with you on that. Clamp, a little clip, C-clip, and then when we remove the battery box and degas bottle, it should be 4 bolts. I will find out what size they are, but I think they're 13 millimeters. Those are 13 millimeters. For the 6.4, I got 2 of them on the side, and then 2 at the bottom. And we're just gonna pull all those out. This whole tray should come out from what I understand. There should be a vent hose for this bottle at the bottom, and I have not removed that yet. This tank, I'm gonna put some soap in it and shake it up and get some of that discoloration out of there, hopefully. Next thing, they want me to remove the driver's side intercooler boot, and I'm using an 11mm deep well. And they said it's not necessary to remove the tube, just loosen this. I think it's just for clearance to get into those pipes right there. You can see the horizontal cooler going along right there. That really opens up a lot of space. There's your brake cylinder and stuff that, you know, you can't see from the top. I might do my glow plugs because it'd be a good time to get them while I can easily get to them. So, all right, so I just got the intercooler boot removed from the tube. I actually loosened this end up first, and I realized they wanted me to do this end, which allows this tube to move around a little bit easier than having this still attached to it. What I do is remove this coolant hose from that vertical cooler, and then we're going to separate these coolers right here at their mounting bracket, or their mounting flange. Right there, if I can get my finger point right there, is held on with a 9/32 size hose clamp. So that's the type of socket you're going to need, or a flathead screwdriver to get that off. Just so you know, I took off a hose that was right here. This went to the side of the degas bottle. I unplugged that because that was in the way of all of this stuff, and this is plastic and I don't want to break it. So if I didn't have a hose to fight with, I feel like I might be able to protect this a little bit more. Allows me to get my hand in here a little bit easier too. So these bolts holding these two coolers together are a 13mm. And hopefully they break off pretty easy. Alright, so I got them taken apart and separated with the screwdriver. It was very hard to get to that bolt right on that side, just from the fan shroud in the way. Now I'm going to loosen these. There's 3 of them, saddle clamps or whatever you want to call them, that holds this cooler in place all the way up top. I'm gonna take the whole thing out. Sorry, I'm trying to film with one hand here. 11mm. I'm using 11mm deep well to get these out. My gear wrench, flex head. I'll tell you what, these, my life would be miserable without these guys. So now I got these 2 bolts. One's a stud with a 13mm nut on it, and the other one is like a Torx. So I got that set up, and this is, it's not the 12 or 20 point or whatever it's supposed to be. This is like a 6 point or whatever, and it's an E10 or E12. I'm sorry, yeah, E12. But it actually fits right, and I've already loosened it, so I know it'll work. So just so you know what I'm using. Just got that cooler out of there. That was a real pain to get through. It would be a lot easier with this tube out. The instructions are asking, I believe, for this coolant, plastic coolant pipe to be removed. So I think I'm gonna leave it on. I'm not entirely sure yet. Yeah, it's this one here. They want it removed, but I'm gonna see how far along I can go without removing it to see if I actually need to or not. All right, so the next step is to remove the upper EGR mount cooler. So I'm gonna take off all of this. This should just be a couple bolts holding it on. Should be some down there and then one over here. And then obviously clamped onto here and remove the whole thing. And these bolts here that hold this housing on are 8mm, and this one is an 11, obviously, for the clamp. This, I just looked down further in the instruction manual and they have us taking this out, so I'm just gonna take this out right away. It's a 10mm stud, or bolt I mean, and there should be 4 of them, I believe. I haven't, as far as I can see for now, 4. Moving this vertical cooler bracket, there's a, I'm not sure what size it is yet, but there is a clip that I believe goes through this bracket that holds this hose on, so I gotta figure out what that is. And then this is a 13mm that holds this piece. This piece is separate, 13mm. The rest are 10 so far. Where are my ratchets at to hold that hose on to that bracket? 13mm. So the stud that holds on that bracket right there, sorry, you want to keep, because it allows you to remount those hoses right there back where they were, keep them out of the way of the fan blade. So I'm gonna do that right now. Just reinstalled the hose, the stud and the hoses. Yeah, right there. So those are all tight. They said they'll do it later. I'll come back to it later. I just figured I'd do it now while I still can. Or while I'm right there, I mean. Steering stem, or whatever you want to call it, shaft right here. And that is a 13 millimeter bolt. I actually already loosened it. Obviously save that. You're supposed to be able to slide one up or down, so I'll figure that out. Move that nut, which is 13 millimeter, which holds your dipstick in place. Got that done. I'm gonna remove the clamps on the EGR cooler, the lower EGR cooler, one top and one bottom over there. Mine's actually broken, so I'm gonna leave. Obviously, I'm not gonna mess with that. And then there should be 2 bolts in the back, right there, one top, one bottom. Hopefully those come loose easily. And then they said this coolant line right through there, you can cut, they said, but it's not going to be reused. So I'm going to figure out what it goes to before I cut it, and then pull this cooler. We're actually underneath the truck right now. I got the cooler unbolted with the clamps, but here is where it connects. And the light's right there, it's kind of hard to see. These are the bolt. This is the exhaust manifold. It's so dark in here. But these bolts are a lot easier to get to. It looks like they're 10, but I'm not sure yet, 10 millimeter. And there's the EGR cooler. And here's that hose they want you to cut. So if I can block that light, it's a little grainy, but yeah. So it's a lot easier to get to from underneath the truck. I'm just laying on some cardboard right now, and I brought some pile of tools out because I wasn't sure what size everything's gonna be, but I think it's 10 millimeter. Let me just check real quick. It's a 10 millimeter deep well. Yeah, 10 millimeter fits that, so I'll be able to bust those right off with a 10 millimeter. This just happened. Twisted this almost completely off. Trying to get that nut off, so those things are on tight. So I gotta rethink what I'm gonna do here. So I just got the bottom bolt out, and I use these screw extractors that I got off of Amazon. They're impact rated, and it comes with quite a few different sizes. So I use these to get the bottom one out. I gotta still do the top one. The top one also rounded off on me, so I gotta try it. But yeah, for a second there I thought I was screwed. So they worked out. All right, so I just got the top one loose. I tell you what, it's really a pain. But I just broke her loose. That sensor, it goes to a sensor. The exhaust temp is really a pain, but she's loose now, so I should have that cooler out of there real soon. I realize now why they want you to get this out. I've tried several combinations, but I don't want to break this thing, so I'm going to pull this tube out, this coolant plastic tube. I'm going to leave it attached to this hose, so I think I can just wiggle it out of the way. But there's an 8 millimeter bolt here, an 8 millimeter bolt there. And you just pull it right out. Cooler mount. And then also this is I think it's a steel pipe that fed the cooler. You can see right there I cut the hose. But it goes all the way up to here. It looks like it's got an 8 millimeter bolt. Right there, 8 millimeter bolt that holds it. So that's where one of the EGR block off plates are going, but this piece and this will come off. I'm gonna pull it all out. All right, so I got that EGR cooler bracket out. The next thing to do is install what comes with the kit. There's 4 M8x40 bolts that go back into here where that kit was. You can see that one stud over there and the third one down. Nothing here, nothing there. Well, on the bottom, there's nothing there either. This is what the kit, this is what it looks like. You got a 8 millimeter bolt here, and things sitting in there like that. Got one going up from the top there, 2 I mean, and then 2 at the bottom. This comes off one piece with it. Real pain, but nothing was broke. Everything came out pretty easily. Got the 4 M8x40, or by 4, or whatever it is, I guess, that I'm going to use for the exhaust manifold down in here. Get them finger started, and they're 13 millimeter socket. 8 studs, or bolts, I mean, not studs, to put the cover on right there for that guy. I'm gonna clean that guy up a little bit so I have a nice smooth mounting surface, and this block off plate is going right there. They have a 13mm head. Underneath the truck, and I cleaned up the mounting surface on this. I recommend just stone it off or sand it with whatever you got. I got my plate, which I'm gonna make sure it's got no debris on it, and then my screws, bolts, and then my ratchets. Got it snug down as tight as I could. See what happens. If she leaks, might wait for her to warm up and then retighten her. Mounted the factory dipstick tube to the oil, and then the next step is to remove the coolant line, which I already did right here according to the instructions. I just finished the dipstick. Remove the coolant tube that's connected to the vertically jar cooler, replace it with the coolant plug supplied in the kit to block off the hole. So one block off's going right here, right? Let's see if I can get in there or not. You can't really see it, but right in between this one and then right there. So that one's gonna be kind of hard to get to. I just got that tube out of there. And you can't really see it, but it's right below this guy, 8mm bolt. And then you supplied with a 10mm head on it with a new block off plate. Right in here. To finalize the install on that. Correction, you gotta reuse the old hardware to mount this up. I was just looking, there's only enough bolts to do the high intake flow, or the flow elbow, high flow elbow for this. So that's what I'm gonna do. This last block off plug is going to go right, let's see if I can get to it, down there by the lower radiator hose. I'm gonna brush off that hole real quick, clean it out, put it right there. There she is, installed with the factory hardware. All nice and pretty. I'm really making progress. I already reinstalled this, but I found out they come with a spacer kit, piece of aluminum. So I'm gonna put that spacer kit right in there just because it looks cleaner. I'm gonna back it out 13mm, put this back on, and put the whole thing back together. What I'm gonna do is to install all of the new, or the degas bottle and the battery box, which I've got in place. So that's what's next. Much, but all that's been oxidized through, I guess, and unless I use a household scrubber, which my wife won't let me. I can't get her much cleaner than that, but she has cleaned it out with some soap and water. Alright, so the next step is to install the hoses, all going to the degas bottle. So I gotta go find those from the yard and go put them back on. Looked ahead, and because of this, and this end went to the old EGR cooler that was here, they're giving us a barbed kit, and we reuse these to hold the ends to where we take this out, splice using that barbed fitting back into this. I'm using one hose, and this gets thrown away. So I'm gonna do that. That's how I did my install. I used a supplied hose clip here and there, and ran just one line. I didn't even splice it because it's one less area to leak now. So now we're gonna take off this guy, which I already started doing. So 10mm, I think, or 8. I think they're 8mm studs holding the whole thing on. Pulls all the way off. Put the new on. We're good to go. I'm a little excited, and I forgot to record how it looks on the bottom, but there's an O-ring that goes on the bottom, and then just these 4 bolts that are supplied come with it. I had to reconnect this guy back onto it. Plugged in my fan, and we're good to go. I gotta add coolant, add the battery, make sure there's no leaks, and I'll give you guys an update. In a nutshell, completely done. I just gotta add coolant now. Battery's done, installed, put back, run coolant, and test for leaks. Thanks for watching.